Human intelligence.
Human intelligence.
I'm Kira Cleveland, and this is Human Intelligence. With my co-host, Ned Hayes, we talk about the importance of human creativity in the age of AI. Welcome to the future.
Welcome to our inaugural episode of Human Intelligence. Today, we're really excited to have Josh Pinkston of the Nature and Spirit Center out on Whidbey Island with us. I'm gratified to have Josh with us because Josh actually, with a collaborator, created the theme for our podcast. So we're going to talk today about music, what it brings to us, how we get to it, how we create it, and Josh's creative process. So welcome to the show, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Ned. I'm excited to dive into making the song and kind of putting myself in the headspace of human intelligence and what's happening, and to put that into music was a lot of fun. So absolute pleasure.
Well, just as we get into it, let's play some of the theme. When I first came to you and I said, we're doing something that really emphasizes the creative act by human beings, what did you do with that? What kind of crossed your mind?
Yeah, the first thing that crossed my mind was it's got to be all organic. And then, so it had to be something that feels and is made by people, and it feels that way, which there's a lot of music today that is made by people, but it's made in such collaboration and editing that it doesn't feel like people anymore. It feels like people through a lens. And so I knew we needed to hold that structure and keep the humanity in it. But then I also thought, well, how interesting can you get? Because the world is so competitive, and the soundscape that we're up against, to put it for lack of a better terms, is so competitive and so versatile that to do something organic that can also grab the attention felt like a really fun, I wouldn't even say challenge.
Yeah.
But like celebration, because that's what we're really doing. And that's what I feel like when you're going through the produce aisle and you see organic and then you don't see organic. There's something about the organic that is worth celebrating. The things that have been preserved, these things that are natural, these things that haven't been tampered with, but are given to us by something bigger than just ourselves, without us getting involved. And it's there for us, and it's food, and it tends to us. And to do that with art is a really wonderful thing. So I was trying to think of something strange, and we have this just recently. I think it was like maybe 2 weeks or something like that before you asked me about this, and we picked this up, this drum, and so this was the basis of what I was thinking. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's,
Yeah.
with this, you get a metallic sound, but it's not machine sounding. So it's human, but you're getting something that is metallic and different and kind of new to the ear, a little bit synthetic sounding. It works almost in some ways like an organ with the way it moves. The term for it is as new as 2007.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a relatively new type of instrument, and there are people online who you can find out who play it the way you play a piano, and what they can do is absolutely amazing. But it's a relatively new instrument, of course, coming from like the steel drum, but then to invert it, so you have um, they have all kinds where they'll even have notes in between the notes, and
Really?
notes on the bottom as well.
Yeah.
You'll see people going all over it, but I'm just a beginner. So there's this root note here, and you're able to tune it by the way that it's structured. And this is, I believe, in 436A, which makes it a different kind of tuning than typical, because the tuning in the past, orchestral would be 432 hertz, and then typical would it be 440. And so this is right in between, which I thought was really interesting and a great metaphor for a lot of the work, where it's like delineating between machine and human, because the 440 is less natural for our ears to hear than a 432 hertz. You can watch the design that a 432 makes out of sand if you put sand on top of it. If you put,
Right, right.
yeah, the shape that a 432 hertz makes is a really beautiful, almost like pine cone like shape.
Yeah.
And 440 is a bit chaos. And so this being at 436 right in between, I thought was really interesting, and also required for all of the instrumentation, the tuning for everything to be altered, and made for a fun little exercise.
Right. I guess what I find really interesting about the fact that you chose that instrument as kind of the root or the underlying melody of the song is that that comes out of the kind of drum history, which evolved out of early African culture and Trinidad and the Caribbean.
Mhm.
That drumming culture, that percussive culture there came out of the talking drums of African culture.
Mhm.
That carried over. And then as we look at how do human beings create music, the very first thing it is basic percussion.
Mhm.
You're able to, bang on a log or use a stick and bang on a rock, right? And,
Mhm.
and so you're creating percussion, and out of percussion, of course, have come these talking drums of Africa, the steel drums of the Caribbean, the pan drum that you're using, and
Mhm.
even the piano. The piano is a percussive instrument. It's not
Mhm.
an instrument with strings like the violin or the cello. It's a percussive instrument, and yet it's become hugely versatile, much like the pan drum, as you just described, can be versatile. So what I love is the harkening back to that kind of ancient history of human percussive activity to make music and communicating with other people. And of course, a percussion, sorry, I'm just geeking out here,
Hey,
but
no, I'm with you.
the kind of percussive act, it can send a signal too.
Absolutely.
It's not just something for your own little amusement, but you bang on a log, that sound is going to reverberate through the forest. So way back to
Yes.
our early ancestors,
I would say it reverberates outward and inward, because
Mm,
before we had all of the synthetic sound and recorded sound, finding rhythm in life was really unusual. You don't
yeah,
find rhythm in life very much. You can hear beautiful sounds, but you're not hearing that rhythm except for in your heart. So you have a rhythm here, and from here, this creates this rhythm of like, okay, here I want to feel things. I can feel that rhythm in my heart, and if I move in that rhythm, that feels good. That feels good to my heart, and it has a fun experience on the outside of it. And that was why we grabbed this is a traditional deerskin drum,
mm,
and so we use this for the heartbeat in the sound of
yeah,
a wild, wild world. Was to get this for that low end beat, and the feeling of what you were pointing out, that it is, for lack of a better terms, tribal. But to put it as tribal, I feel like is over compartmentalization. It's human. It's not them. It's not them, and then it's us. It's us.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this feeling of celebration and that rhythm is not innate to another person, but innate to all of us. And to feel that, when I was doing it, a lot of times when I listen to the song, I get the image of the end of the Star Wars movies,
Hmm.
Um, and when there's the celebration in the galaxy and all the
Right.
Ewoks, there's that music that's going on. That's what I hear is
Right.
we're in a wild, wild world. We beat the machines. We beat the empire.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, it goes to the fact that you called it the heartbeat too. I mean, Samuel Beckett in Waiting for Godot has two characters at one point who are looking for a lost like pocket watch, and they
Mm.
search all around. They search all through, the characters on the stage, and they start just listening for it. And then one man says, "Oh, I've got it. I've got it." And then he says, "No, no, no. What you heard was just his heart."
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
the point being that the heart itself is our clock.
Hmm.
Time is marked by the kind of intricate engine of the body, right? The
Hmm.
rhythms of the body are clocks or percussive instruments, the engine of the heart, the
Hmm.
melody of the body. If the melody of the body ceases, we're dead.
Yes. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so what you've done is you've externalized the melody of the body in some ways.
I love that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It was the feeling of wanting to move because that's also so human, to just,
Yeah.
oh, I want to feel this and I want to move. And that's, for some people can be uncomfortable, and for others it can feel really natural. But I think either way, it's very human to feel something and want to move. So yeah, that was what inspired that direction of all that. And then that drum being there is like, oh man, yeah, this is a
Yeah.
celebration of celebrating human intelligence, which I think is a beautiful
Right, being able to bring our creativity and our spirits to the foreground.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what wakes you up musically when you're thinking or when you're feeling something and you feel kind of woken up or alive with music and feeling like you must make music. When do those moments happen for you?
Feels like I think something a bodybuilder would feel if
Hmm.
you've been, exercising your legs for a long time, or a runner, and you're constantly running and you're feeling that energy, and you do that all the time every day. And not only that, but you also feel the benefits of it. You feel the rush, you feel the high, you feel the freedom of it. And then if that starts to go away and you're not running as much, you're
Hmm.
losing something, like things are not as good as they just were. Things are on an
Right.
opposite direction. And I would say music is the exact same thing. To dive in to the void, um, and the mystery, uh, of either a melodic scale or
Hmm.
a rhythm, and just to
Hmm.
find that rhythm and be like, well, this rhythm can go in this directions, and you're not so much creating as you are uncovering and discovering. And those feelings of interacting with an intelligence, with a spirit, um, with a consciousness that's beyond the analytical
Hmm.
and the linear, because you can
Beyond the
write.
conscious mind in a way. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're completely bypassing. And the more the critical, it's fun because it gives you this perspective on the critical mind. The more you have a delicate line to walk with it, because the more the critical mind can criticize everything, especially the more you create over time, it
Right.
it can start to say, well, I've seen that before. You've done blah, 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 blah. And to release that and recognize that it's a tool of, oh, I can make something unique and beautiful, and it also doesn't need to be competitive. It doesn't need to be the most original
Right.
thing ever. It
Right,
just,
right. But I want to stay on that moment of critique or analytical understanding of something, because one thing that I see under threat with the advent of new kind of synthetic tools is that people aren't challenging themselves to grow their own crafts.
mm,
Therefore, their ability to have taste or to distinguish between good and bad becomes diminished. I mean, when you work really hard to
yeah,
learn how to play a song, and then you can hear when other people are playing that song well, or when
Hmm.
they are not doing so well, because you've trained your ear to listen for the good in that,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
so if you, though, haven't done that work, and you've never cultivated that craft, you don't have the tools to distinguish between
Yeah.
good renditions or bad renditions. And that's something that concerns me because I think that that ability to distinguish is part of the growth process of any artist.
Yeah, discernment is what shapes a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Discerning between what's real and what's not, what's good and what's not, what's healthy, what's not. There's a great quote from Paul Simon that I read years and years ago, and it has stuck with me ever since. And he was talking with an interviewer, and the interviewer brought up, I think, Barry Manilow,
Hmm.
and as a reference of a songwriter, and he kind of went, Barry Manilow, kind of scoffed at it a little bit, and
Yeah.
then the guy said, well, how can you say that? Barry Manilow has sold millions of albums, he's got millions of devoted fans all over the world, how can you poo-poo on somebody else's art? And he said his response to this was, if you give someone a Big Mac every day for 7 years, and then one day you bring to them French cuisine, which is by far in every way measurable far superior,
Hmm.
um, they're not necessarily going to prefer the French cuisine.
Oh, that's interesting. Right. Right. So if we're creating a world where Big Macs can be stamped out, uh, with every heartbeat, boom, 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 people won't even recognize foie gras when they have it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. To hear, and we can see that all the time when we hear music and there we aren't really listening. That it happens to all of us.
Right. It kind of becomes the background fabric of our existence. And this is true of entertainment as well. I mean, I know you aren't necessarily a filmmaker or a writer, but if stories are everywhere on every screen, every bar you walk into and every taxi cab that you're in has a screen with a story going.
Mm,
Um, the ability to distinguish between stories that are hackneyed or trite or stories that are truly original and have something uniquely creative to say becomes harder
mhm.
if it's everywhere and it's all kind of at the same level of pablum.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Um, that that multiplicity of everything and the wide array of so many variations of things happening simultaneously, and it's
Yeah.
constant, is another reason why human intelligence, what this make is so relevant, because there is, you hear about movements of people wanting to move out to the country, and that there is a feeling of, I want this humanity more. I want this feeling of nature more, and that the constant onslaught of sound, of rhythm, and the constant, yeah, pulse of that is hard on the nervous systems. And
Mhm.
so it's shaping, I think, what will human music look like. And I do think it'll look more tribal in the future, because uh, we're recognizing it as medicine, not just as entertainment, but also medicine. It feels good to hear something that's human, that makes you want to move. And in a world where there's so much that does the opposite of that, that's there's something that's inhuman that makes you want to sit still and look in one spot. And
Yeah.
to do something human that makes you want to move is something that we're needing more in our lives on a very practical level and on a spiritual level. So I think it's something that's coming up more and more. And I think the acoustic guitars and drums are going to feel really good for kids to get their hands on and start playing drums and feeling those
Yeah.
the rhythms come through them.
Right, right. If you're just sitting at a screen all day and you're engaged kind of in the virtual world, you're only using part of your senses.
Right.
Only using that mediated reality that we can experience with the eyeballs. If you aren't moving your body, if you aren't tasting the sweat that is
Hmm.
coming off of you, if you aren't actually experiencing all of reality, if you're just experiencing what comes to you through the screen,
Hmm.
you aren't fully living, maybe.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels good to live more.
Right, right. I do wonder if that's part of the appeal recently with psychedelics, that people want to kind of break the borders of the kind of constrained world that we live in and see more or
Yeah.
experience more. And I wonder if it's kind of a reactive response to the kind of boxes that we put things in. As you said, we put things in boxes of like othering people or saying, "Oh, this is tribal, this isn't right." So if we
Yeah.
break down those barriers and really understand, now I'm really talking like somebody who's done a lot of psychedelics, which I haven't, but being able to understand kind of the oneness of things and being able to understand the deep connections between the natural world and ourselves. I mean, that's a human act that I don't think machinery can ever really accomplish.
Yeah.
Or a mediated reality through the screen can't really get to that kind of deep understanding of ourselves as in tune and part of nature.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think what you said about psychedelics and about music, it applies to that, the getting out of the confines of our own stories, and
Mhm.
online builds more stories. It meaning that, like you said, there are stories everywhere, and we can get so much into our own stories, our own perspective of life, that we completely miss out on there being a broader perspective of life, a much wider perspective of life. And the drawing into the screens where you're literally, you think about there's that image of, I can't remember who said this to me, but they were talking about like when you die and you go and review your life, how much of the time are you going to be like this?
Yeah.
And just looking at the body posture, the behavior from an outside perspective, from that kind of perspective, from an eternal or from a outside life perspective, an outside awareness, is really helpful to notice how unhuman, how inhumane a lot of what we're doing to ourselves is. And the thing about psychedelics, to be able to just feel that there's a different perspective, and how
Mhm.
that can be alarming if you're really invested in your own story and how what it means to you. This is who you are. And then to release that and say, maybe things are a little bit different than I thought they could be. Uh,
Right. Maybe I'm going to break down that paradigm and start over.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe everything's going to shift. There's such a freedom and a gift into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it does remind me also of Brian Merchant's recent book, Blood in the Machine, where he goes back to the early history of the movement we now call the Luddites.
Hmm.
And it was based around a fictional man named Ned Ludd. That's why they call it the Luddites.
Mhm.
But the Luddite movement was not an anti-machine movement per se, even though it's often painted that way. Um, the textile industry at that time was one where people did textile work as a family. And you
Hmm.
did it in your community, and you did it with the rhythms of the day. You'd take a break for lunch with your family. You'd come back and work some more. You
Hmm.
like your 6-year-old who might be helping you a bit, might need to run around and play in the hammock for a while and come back. That was okay. And your family participated in this act that was a livelihood, but was also a communal experience.
Yeah.
And when the industrialists came and said, "Hey, we're going to put this all in a factory and require you to work set hours and require that you do X, Y, and Z and require," it broke down those familial bonds.
Hmm.
And it destroyed the kind of community experience of creating something that you felt connected to. And so they were protesting not against efficiency per se, but against the destruction of a way of life and
Hmm.
a way of life that they felt preserved community and family bonds. And in so many ways, I feel like we're at that moment now where we have people who are doing things for each other, with each other, and by disintermediating the human beings, by stripping human beings out of creative processes, it's not about the efficiency or creating better art. It's about destroying the familial and community bonds in order to maximize profit.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it's just really interesting how the historical time, like I forget who said it, but history does not repeat, but it does echo,
Uh,
right?
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. The
Yeah.
Luddites. Wow, that's amazing. That perspective, I think, is quite prophetic, and we're kind of looking at
Mhm.
it happening at its full extent at this time. It's so interesting to see. Where do you, if I can turn the tables here for a
Yeah,
second,
yeah.
when you think of human intelligence and the mission of this, and yeah, where do you see human intelligence in like 5 years with how quickly the landscape is shifting?
Hmm.
It feels like every week there's a new AI conversation that's
Hmm.
bursting out of yeah, just the effects of it and what it can do, its capabilities. So maybe not even 5 years. 5 years might be too far out. What if it's a year
Well,
or two?
so yeah, so I think your question is where's this all going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are two ways that let me say that again. I think the momentum of synthetic tools, and I think it's a misnomer to label them as AI because they aren't actually intelligent.
Mm.
And but they are synthetic tools or plagiarism tools or tools that strip value from human beings. You can give them some of those labels.
Wow.
And so those tools have a lot of momentum behind them and a lot of money. And
Mhm.
they reduce, they atomize human beings to discrete output products, like saying, oh, Josh creates music, so we'll just create music without Josh. Or Ned creates books, so we'll just create books without Ned.
Right.
Thing that both Josh and Ned receive in that process, and that our families receive and our communities receive, is a process of maturation and of personal growth and of artistic growth. And as I talked about, taste and craft and all of those things, that's the purpose of the art. They're
Mhm.
missing the entire
Oh,
point
yeah.
by saying that the output is the purpose.
Wow. Yeah, that's wonderful.
If you took all the books I've written and you burned them, you burned every copy in the world, I would still have the experience and the craft and the ability to write another book
Hmm.
and the ability to grow as a human being and to search my own soul and for you to be enlivened by music and me to be enlivened by music, that liveliness and that ability to grow because of our craft and our learning and learning deeper wisdom through art,
Hmm.
that's the point. The point
Right.
is not the output. So I think there is going to be a lot of synthetic output,
Mm.
but the need for human beings to continue to grow via creative acts and via acts of craft will still exist, and I think will actually blossom further because they will be, to some extent, unshackled from the need to make money with everything that you do.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think the kind of artistic world is going to bifurcate into all the slop, all the synthetic slop that's out there, and all of the actual art.
Hmm.
And so where this is all going, I don't actually know where the world is going to go. I can't decide the future. But I do think that human beings are still going to exist in 5 years, in 10 years. And I
Yeah.
think we become more human the more we invest ourselves in art and craft.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's my thinking about it. I'll turn it back to you. What do you think, Josh?
Cool. Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, I'm just trying to take that in too. I'm trying to think of how um, the kind of the demand for that and where it's at, and
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know, just to use a terrible tech bro term, I
yeah.
don't know how people are going to monetize art. And
Right.
and that's kind of not the point of what I said, that human beings are going to make art, whether they burn it at the end or not is immaterial.
Right.
I think there are going to be people who write a book and say, I'm going to never digitize this. I'm going to handwrite it
Mhm.
so that uh, synthetic plagiaristic systems can't take it.
Yeah.
So like that's going to be an act of resistance. I created something and you can't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's kind of the the ultimate way. That's the Buddhist way of being I've created paradise and you can't have it. That
Right, right. I mean, the Zen Buddhist moment is, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill
uh,
him,
right.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the journey is the destination.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's not about the end product. It's not about achieving something.
Hmm.
The act of seeking is the achieving.
Yes. So I had a very interesting talk that I went to here on the island recently, and it was with another author. Her name is Vicky Robin, and
Hmm.
she wrote a book a while ago about your life for your money, something like that.
Yeah.
And she was here on the island talking about sharing commerce or sharing the sharing economy
Hmm.
and the commerce of community, or the not the commerce but the economy of community. And so she was looking at money, at not so much money but how would you put it, economics. She had terms for it that would be helpful for me to remember if I could at the moment, but gosh, I don't think I have it. But she was talking about how we're looking at finances only through national paper. That's how we look at money. We look at money as it is only paper. That's how you get things. And when you look at money that way, you take out things that there actually were surrounded by wealth. That
Hmm.
if you are kind to the person next to you, they will do things for you. And that is a form of exchange and of goods in that
Hmm.
way. And that when we're good to each other in this larger community, and that if we're good to the land, we can get this out of the land. And if we're
Hmm.
good to all of these things, sharing gratitude, appreciating for what you're getting, and then also giving something in return, finding what you have and giving what you have, but not thinking about a paper that someone else somewhere else has assigned value to, that you're saying, I buy into that. This is what has
Right.
value. And
Right.
she was talking about, on the global scheme, the dollar, or the international scheme, the dollar is dwindling in value, and the idea of money is changing all over the place. So we need to get ahead of the game and say, what's value to us? And that's what you're saying, is that making art is a value. And this is something that we have. And yeah, sure, maybe in the future, it's not something that we're making money for, or that we're getting that kind of national paper for, that we're not getting that, but we're getting, I'm giving you that art and it brings you life, and that brings
Right.
me life to see that. It brings me life to see this art come into your life and what it does for you, to write a story and to have it shared with other people. Maybe
Right.
it's
Right.
it, shared in a small group of people, and it's just among friends, and these friends know your story, and they know this story looks like this, and now they're a part of this whole world that you're creating, and that's intimate, and that's a deep
Absolutely.
relationship.
I love the word intimate that you use there because that is a present bringing of something. Meaning it's in the moment. It's not an abstraction. Like the monetary system is an abstraction that
Yeah.
we put on things. And so are many other systems, like even computer code is an abstraction. But that intimate moment of sharing, whether that's music or whether that's poetry or whether that's a
Hmm.
story, that's a lived experience that existed in that moment and then is ephemeral, right?
Hmm.
And it's not an abstraction. It's a real thing that happened in time.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
it's an experience. Yeah,
yeah.
we've been we've been trying to get used to not taking pictures of things and just be like, oh, I'm not going to take the camera out and get a
Yeah,
picture of this. I'm just going to engage with it and remember what this moment feels like for myself.
right,
It's yeah, it is nice to just enjoy things for what they are, as
yeah,
they are, and as you are too, rather than thinking I want to enjoy this again in the future. Just appreciating that this is enough right now. What is being
mhm,
provided for me, and in the future we'll see what comes, and there will be enough then, something new to look at.
right.
That is exciting about human intelligence and what you're doing. It gives something
Well,
for the future.
thanks. Yeah, so I wonder if I could, that's an interesting note to end on. I wonder, Josh, if I could ask you to play us out with something. Maybe if
Oh,
you could, to tell us a little bit about the instrument that you're playing and um, you know,
yeah.
play us off stage, so to
Yeah.
speak.
We could do that. I don't have any.
Is this a piece that
Let's
you're just
see.
coming up with, or
Well, that's the theme.
right, right. So how did that theme come to you, or how was it?
And you were talking about that tagline that you wanted to.
Yeah.
I want to use that. I think that'd be really good at the end of something. Say that you. That'd be really nice. Yeah, I heard the drum, and we put the percussion around it, and we put hand clapping around. I was working with a friend of mine, Drakey, uh,
Mhm.
Drake Cristobal, who's down in San Mateo, California, and he was up visiting, and so I was showing him what I was working on, and we ended up really vibing on it for the whole night. And he helped me out with some hand claps, and then
Yeah, yeah.
with a few little arrangement ideas, and it was such a fun thing, and it really kind of uh, captured what we were talking about, the humanness of music and this fun of what it takes. You asked to share a little bit about the instrument, and this was a gift from a friend of mine and my wife. They found it. It's a 1983 Guild nylon string guitar, and there's nothing like it. And they wouldn't make anything like this today because you can't find materials like this. So
Wow.
uh, it's a really beautiful guitar and a beautiful gift.
Wow. Yeah.
So when I heard that drum and where am I going to go from it, it was those are kind of the two chords that you had to work with,
Mm.
and that would be a little bit. And that just came out of it, and yeah, I loved that. But the songs that I end up playing the most of these days are are little circle songs, kind of like that, but capturing just little mantras. And there's a blessing from the Essene Gospel of Peace, and the Essene scriptures that I love, and turned into a song. And it's one that I play all the time, and would be, I think, a nice song to conclude with here. May you know this peace with your mind, and love this peace in your heart. Fulfill this peace with your body in all you do. May you know.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. As always, this episode is available online at humanintelligence.news. You can find out more about any of these news items and hear the complete interview on the extended premium version of our podcast at humanintelligence.news. Today's episode was produced by Ned Hayes and engineered by Muhammad Adnan. Our analog-only human-themed music was created for the Human Intelligence podcast by Josh Pinkston of Nature and Spirit. This episode, and every episode, is brought to you by the Human Intelligence Institute team. That's all for Human Intelligence today.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time, Josh. Really appreciate the conversation. That was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ned, for the opportunity and the conversation.